Michael Chandler, sitting in tonight for Dr. Jamie Glazov. And tonight on our Glazov gang, we have several guests. We have Mr. Dwight Schultz, renowned Hollywood actor, Lloyd, Romeo, electronics engineer. We have Larry Greenfield, who is a fellow in the American Studies at the Claremont Institute. There's a lot in today's news. There's so much I got sheafs and sheafs of paper. I don't know if we can get through all of it. First thing we'll talk about is Susan Rice. Susan Rice has been appointed today as the new National Security Advisor for Barack Obama. And she has quite a history. Larry, have you anything to say on that?
Oh, a lot to say. I mean, the Obama foreign policy has been a disaster from day one. Remember when he ran for office, he declared himself a citizen of the world. How do you characterize the Obama doctrine? It's some combination of abandonment of our bravest, withdrawal as fast as they can, which was preceded by dithering regarding Afghanistan, and a certain amount of internationalism and a belief in international law, and sort of a decline in the spirit of American exceptionalism and commitment to our allies, abandonment of our allies and apology tours. So Susan Rice has been with Barack Obama from the beginning. She was an advisor to him during his campaign in 2008.
Loyalty is prized by Obama.
Loyalty is prized, and although everybody can comment on this, she lied to the American people 5 times in one day, so that's the indoor record. She got rewarded.
Is Benghazi forgotten then?
Not by the American people, the families of the victims of the terrorism, and by any truth tellers left in the media. One of the reasons I'm glad to be with you all is that the rest of the media is to the left of the salad fork. And there are a few brave souls who say, first ambassador murdered on American soil, which is what a consulate is, in over 30 years. Where was the president? What were the decisions made?
But those weren't the only ambassadorial personnel killed in the recent past, because when Susan Rice was overseeing the embassies in Kenya.
That's true.
Right.
Way back.
Anyway, 12 American diplomats were killed there, and more than 200 Africans when they blew up the embassies in Kenya and Tanzania.
So, bottom line, she's an ideologue. She's pursuing the president's policies. And that's really where the buck stops.
That's right.
The left has its feet, I like to say, firmly planted in the air. And she's along for the ride.
Well, that ride's going to take us into bad waters, I'm sure. What do you think, Dwight?
I was just going to say the first time I really became acquainted with Susan Rice was after Bill Clinton unfortunately said that he had been given Osama bin Laden from Sudan, but we didn't have the legal right to take him. It was quite a furor created, and Susan Rice was brought into the game to not contradict, but to smooth over the problem. In other words, they were trying desperately to make it clear that no, Bill Clinton didn't have Osama bin Laden. He didn't. That didn't happen. But unfortunately, you have Clinton on record saying, yeah, we had him, and we let him go. Just like we let them go all the way up from the Cole and the first attack on the World Trade Center and the attacks on Africa. He did nothing. And of course, Osama bin Laden himself, in his fatwa, said it was Clinton's cowardice that gave him the cojones to move forward. And Susan Rice was right there in the middle of it. And she was given an upgraded UN.
Was promoted.
She was, well, but under Bush, it was not a cabinet level appointment.
No, I was talking about today's events. Yeah. She has a promotion.
She's been promoted.
She's being rewarded for her loyalty in maintaining the company line and not calling out, not admitting to the truth when everybody could see that what she was doing was shielding a lie that would have otherwise redounded to the president's disfavor,
But these are all forked,
just prior to an election.
forked-tongue leftists.
I'd like to point out that I think part of the reason that she's been promoted is to make it much more difficult to subpoena her and get her to testify, because now she's the advisor to the military, and now it's going to be much harder to go after her. And so that kind of stops the media and everybody from asking, well, who told you to go out there for those 5 TV
No
shows?
congressional approval is
oversight.
required for her.
It's going to be much tougher to get out there and ask her, because now she's got an official position. She's not just the next. And so this, I believe, is actually part of the cover-up. And this actually may be part of a mistake on Obama's part, because this keeps the cover-up alive.
It keeps Benghazi in
It
the
keeps
public eye, Larry.
keeps the answers from us. And if anything the press doesn't like, it's answers that are just hidden.
When the president took office in 2009, he at least felt obliged to appoint a general, General Jones, as his national security advisor. Susan Rice has many things, we've cataloged some of them, but senior military is not one of them. As she's the national security advisor of the United States, I don't think the Chinese, the Russians, and
Respect
the
her.
Iranians are probably shaking in their boots tonight.
Are there any people on Obama's council that have any military experience?
Well, this is something that's interesting, other than John Kerry, who you know served in the
That's right.
military.
But not
Once
very
upon a time.
honorably.
Yes.
No, and John Kerry's already doubled down or tripled down now on Barack Obama's fundamental error in the Middle East, which is to link the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to all the problems of the Middle East. Sunnis and Shiites are killing each other in Syria, but it must be John Kerry's job as Secretary of State now to give lots of American taxpayer monies to the Palestinians and pressure the Israelis by saying, well, you're too prosperous and successful as a Western democracy. So it's your fault that the Palestinians and therefore the Middle East is aflame. Hagel, of course, is Secretary of Defense. He's been antipathetic to our ally Israel. And of course, Samantha Power now at the UN.
She has a long
she's-
history of antipathy to Israel.
Indeed. So you got a rogues gallery of people who are not friendly with our key ally in the Middle East.
Which allies do they support?
They're not for our allies. They're for making nice with our enemies. It goes back to the Honduran scandal and mugging with Chavez and telling the Brits, first sending the bust of Winston Churchill out of the Oval Office. And revealing, by the way, the British nuclear deterrent in our START conversations with Russia. It goes on and on.
But these are, I mean, to be honest, I mean, these are international socialists, neo-Marxists. That's what they are. That's where they gravitate. Everybody wonders, and why Barack Obama was given the Nobel Prize for having done nothing, and all that you have to do.
Even he sensed that he was not worthy of receiving
Yes,
it.
but the reason he was given the prize, if you just look at who was responsible for giving it to him, he's the first international socialist to be elected president of the United States, and he got the award for that. That's really it.
And not coincidentally, his allies are other socialists.
Yeah.
I mean,
They
it's
are.
right out there. It's
It's-
obvious to everyone.
It's clear as a bell, and we don't, unfortunately, have anyone in the news media. No one. As Andrew Breitbart used to say, it is the media. We have no one who would ask this president a single question.
Now
that
with the
would
AP
elucidate.
scandal, I think that the media may be re-energized to look anew. Where they used to be lapdogs, they may have a slight tingle up their leg, perhaps, like our old friend Chris Matthews, to look anew at some of the lies that they have been fed and been willing participants in carrying for Obama, now that they have been abused with James Rosen and wiretapping at the AP.
The word swindle has been used.
Swindle.
They feel swindled.
Well, Benghazi would be relevant both with Susan Rice and Samantha Power, given that that embassy was allowed to just die on the vine without any assistance at all from our stewards of national sovereignty, because an embassy, a consular facility, is American soil that is supposedly to be protected by our assets and not allowed to be jeopardized or assaulted with no response.
Well,
Right.
the story doesn't die. I mean, there was just today, I think, it could be apocryphal, but an Al-Qaeda member said that Stevens was injected with a lethal dose. They killed him, in other words. But the Qaradawi from Egypt has declared jihad in Syria, which is, totally runs counter to everything that Obama has said is going on in the world. And of course, John Brennan, the head of CIA, does not believe that jihad exists. So we are living in a it's an Alice in Wonderland foreign policies. You say he almost it's almost crafted in a way to make the United States vulnerable at everywhere you look. The military has been denuded. We have no policy. We've abandoned, as Larry said, all of our allies. So what do we have left? What does the United States really do now with this know-nothing president?
I think we're riding on borrowed time. I really do. I don't think that Americans realize fully the jeopardy that they're faced with, both from external enemies like Egypt, which we're buying for $2 billion a year. They don't realize the threat from Iran. We keep putting that off, saying, well, work with us, work with us. They're not working with us. With whom, then, can we work? Because England no longer is a force to be reckoned with. Japan is too small and weak. And now our enemies like China and Russia and Iran are going to increasingly take advantage of our weakness. Lloyd, do you have any opinion on that?
Well, I would like to point out Israel does have their one reliable ally out there, and that for their own survival, they're out there. Though I'm wondering,
how many opponents can they take on with Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting question, and I have a funny feeling that's going to be tested here soon.
Will it be a double team then, requiring us as the great Satan to come and help the little Satan?
Well, if you listen to some of our defense experts, we're more likely to go to war, because when General Dempsey stated out loud that the United States would not be complicit in any Israeli preemptive action against Iranian nuclear facilities, that told the Iranians we don't have Israel's back. Yeah. That's more likely to lead the Israelis to calculate that President Obama and his team are not going to
come to their aid
or initiate on their own action against the Iranians. So there have been a lot of signals sent, and you would think that some military heroes would step forward and tell the truth about what did happen in Benghazi, why it wasn't defended, why we didn't retaliate, why we didn't rescue, and why we still don't know the whole story about what happened in eastern Libya.
I must say that the Benghazi thing makes me chafe, because I think of amphibious ready groups that the Navy has with a carrier-like vehicle called an LHD. They carry jump jets, they carry helicopters, they carry like 2,000 Marines. They can respond, and there's 12 of these amphibious readiness groups floating around all over the world. They're certainly in the Mediterranean. They could have responded.
Well said, and there are aircraft which could have buzzed the scene, which would have told the enemy,
more on the way.
The terrorists, America's here, they would have scattered potentially. We don't know how long the fight and the terrorism was going to last, so why weren't they sent? A lot of unanswered questions, and I don't think the enemies around the world, and there are enemies around the world, are too concerned with President Obama's focus and detail. By the way, the military and other assets, intelligence, they practice for every region in the world.
Contingency.
Yeah. They also are supposed to be called in at a moment of crisis to the war room. They weren't called on 9/11, where you think they'd be on high alert.
Right.
And so the president did not even seek all-night answers to what his capabilities were to react.
And I love this excuse. I'm sorry.
No.
I love this excuse that they have that, they wouldn't have got there in time. Well, how did they know ahead of time how long that attack was going to last? How do you predict that and then say, oh, well, we'll just let them go? I would have rather have seen them send folks out and be late than just say,
see, that's part of the military creed. You leave no man behind.
Leave no man behind.
And you will exert heaven and earth to help the besieged. And even if you die in the attempt, at least you have put forth effort to keep faith with your personnel. Dwight,
we have on the record Dempsey and Panetta saying they didn't talk to the president.
How about Carter Ham?
He didn't talk to Obama.
But he wanted to send troops, and he was told to stand down.
Yes, but we do know that Obama did talk to Hillary Clinton at the 10 o'clock phone call. And that's what we know. We don't know where the president was, what he was doing, whether he was sleeping, watching television, or what. This is going to be the story over the next 6 months.
So this story will not go away then?
I do not believe so. I believe this is the important story.
Do you think we will find out the particulars?
I
Who's going to?
think we are going to find out.
Okay.
Who's going to find this out? Do you think media will finally?
No. This will be done by Republicans in investigation in Congress, because Republicans must investigate Democrats. The
Do
media
you
only
think that military
investigates
members will, as Larry points out, come forth at the risk of their pensions and careers
if they're asked. Yes.
if they're asked?
Right.
But if they were true patriots, wouldn't they forfeit that? I think of from my past, Major General John
Right.
Singlaub in
Right.
Korea, who
Right.
told Jimmy Carter, I cannot do the job appointed to me to do over all forces in Korea if you are going to withdraw my forces as well as withdraw America from South Korea and jeopardize all of it.
If you see somebody resign, there's one thing about the military, and this is the truth. They owe allegiance to the commander-in-chief, and they have to resign in order to do that, or they need to be asked. And believe me, they have sent signals to the congressional Republicans. Call us. I'll wager that's going on.
It's sort of like Hicks.
Well, as we approach the end of the first segment here, we will pick that up as we start on segment number 2 in just a moment. Thank you.